Hi, good afternoon, Longhorns, or good morning if you're watching this in the morning. My name is Yulissa Chavez, and I'm one of the graduate assistants in First Gen Equity. And today I will be talking to you about cover letters. So if you missed our cover letter workshop, no worries. We're going to cover that today. So let's go ahead and look at our presentation together. All right. So cover letters. What are they? You are probably asking, and what are they for? We're going to cover that. But before we do so, some expectations for this presentation. We're going to discuss the structure and the purpose. We're going to look at some examples throughout of what a cover letter should look like. And we did an exercise in the workshop, but no worries. I will provide the instructions and the supplemental materials should you want in an email or the newsletter. So what is the goal for this presentation? The goal is for you to be able to write a cover letter based on your resume and a job description. Now, cover letters are not only for jobs, they can also be used to apply for scholarships or internships or fellowships. So again, what is a cover letter and what is the point? A cover letter is a more informal way to introduce yourself and why your skills, your values, and your experiences align with a job, an internship, a scholarship, or a fellowship. Now, it is not just restating what your resume says, it's more than that. And another point, a cover letter is just as important as your resume. The 3 points of a cover letter are to one, have it connect to your resume. Two, to tie to specific job duties. And three, to answer this question. Why are you the best candidate for this job or this position? A cover letter is composed of these 3 things. You have a heading, you have a greeting, and you have 3 paragraphs. Each paragraph handles one single focus. For example, your first paragraph is going to be your introduction. Your second is going to discuss your qualifications. And usually your third and last is going to be a summary or a closure. You want your cover letter to have similar, if not identical, guidelines and formatting as your resume. So this means that your cover letter should be 1 page maximum. It should have simple and clean format. It should also be 1/2 inch to 1 inch margins, and minimum a 10-point font or maximum a 12-point font. You never ever want to go smaller than a 10-point font. For consistency, you want to use the same format and font style as your resume. Again, you want to show that you're detail oriented and that you pay attention to the reader and how they come across your material and your application. Usually a cover letter is submitted as an attachment, but it can also be included within a body of an email. So for example, let's say you have a job description that tells you to email your application to so-and-so. You can, again, just type out your cover letter or copy and paste it right into the email itself, should you want to do that. You want to use professional language, so avoid any text verbiage at all costs. You want to be direct and concise, and your tone should be confident throughout. So this means you should not have sentences like "I think." You should definitely avoid that. And just like a resume, you're going to tailor every cover letter to a position or the job that you're applying for. You want to avoid generic cover letters, and you want to avoid using the same cover letter for each job or scholarship you apply for at all costs. And last but not least, proofread. You want to avoid any typos or misspellings or grammatical errors. All right, so first and foremost, our heading. Our heading is going to look, if not identical, the same as our resume. So that's going to include your first and last name in big, bold letters, like we can see here. And you're also gonna want to include your contact information, such as your phone number and email address, like you can see here. An optional thing you can have on your heading is a LinkedIn, your LinkedIn website, and maybe your address. As you can see here in this example, we do have the LinkedIn page and an address here. You want to keep your format, font, and style of heading from the resume the same because, again, you want to create consistency. You want to make sure that your reader knows that you care about details and you care about what they're reading. Now, a cover letter is a letter. So just like in a letter, you're going to provide who you're sending it to. In this case, that's going to be your employer contact info. Your employer contact info is usually going to include the department or company name along with their address. As you can see here in this example, this cover letter was directed to the University of Texas at Austin, specifically to the department that is named Division of Diversity and Community Engagement, along with the address here. If address is unknown or not applicable, you can just include the department and company name. But again, it is strongly advised to use the address because it does show dedication and it shows research and it shows that you're detail oriented. You want to take the time to ensure that you have the company and department information correct. You can verify all this info by calling, or you could always use Google, LinkedIn. The actual job description usually has this information as well. The point is you want to have the employer contact info with as much information as possible. And you can do that again by calling or utilizing LinkedIn, the job description, or Google. Just like in a cover letter, just like in a letter, you are going to want to address this to somebody. So you're going to address the letter to a person, hiring manager, according to the job description. Sometimes they include the name. So sometimes in a job description, it may say something along the lines of, email your application to Yulissa Chavez at so-and-so email. Now, you can address the person directly by saying, dear Mr., dear Mrs., or dear name here. But if all else fails, you can also use these greetings here. You can say, dear hiring manager, dear recruitment committee, dear insert name of department, hiring team. And if all else fails, you can just use to whom it may concern. But again, you want to show that you did your research and that you're detail oriented. So if you can, I would strongly advise to try to find the name, or if not, use this. You want to find the name of a person, again, by using LinkedIn, Google, or maybe even calling. But you should first look at the job description. So all in all, your cover letter should look like this. You're going to include the date, the employer contact info here, and your greeting here. All right, now time to get into the bulk of your cover letter, your paragraphs. The first paragraph is going to be your intro or your purpose. Paragraph 1 should answer this question or should make this statement. This is who I am and why I am applying. You're going to want to specifically say your name and say what position you're applying for. So it would look like something like this. My name is Yulissa Chavez. I am a graduate student at the LBJ school, period. I'm applying for the position of so-and-so. You're going to want to use keywords from the job description to use to talk about your qualifications. More on that later. You're going to include in the thesis statement your qualifications for this position. And if you refer to the position, you're going to want to include the contact name. So paragraph 1, again, should be about why you're interested in this position, what your qualifications are. Remember, it is not what they could do for you, but what you can do for them. Now, in the case that you've never had a job or maybe you're a freshman who's just starting out, do not worry about not having so much experience. You should show your enthusiasm and you should show your interest in this position and what you've already done. Ideally, you want to show that you're detail oriented, that you're competent, and that you are invested in a career path that may align with the job or internship that you're applying for. The point is that a cover letter is to show again your competence, enthusiasm, and you're a detail oriented person. Which brings us into paragraph 2, our qualifications and how we match the job. Paragraph 2 should say, here is how I am skilled. Here are my experiences. You're not just listing what you have on your resume, but you're also talking about what your experiences have taught you and how you're applying what you learned. So again, describe your experiences, but make it in a way that talks about what you've learned, what you got out of it. It is optional to break the paragraph into two if needed. Let's say you have a lot of experience you want to talk about. You're going to want to break that into 2 paragraphs because it's easier for the person to read. You want to be specific. You want to include examples that demonstrate fit. Examples can be direct or transferable. And you want to incorporate quantity. So how much, how often, how many, when possible. So just like we talked about our resume, when you're looking at your cover letter, you should be thinking about how you can demonstrate progress, how you can demonstrate maybe mastery of something. So for example, let's say I'm applying for a position as a voter deputy registrar, a person who registers people to vote. What I can talk about, a qualification I can talk about is my interpersonal skills. And I can talk about how I volunteered consistently, let's say in a food bank. My point is that even though the job, voter deputy registrar, has nothing to do with food banking, it's about talking to people. It's about communicating. You want to show that you have the skill and you have an experience that is beneficial to the job that you're applying for. So for example, in my example, what I just said, voter deputy registrar, person who registers people to vote, you deal with people, you have to talk to people, you're going to want to use something that proves that you've done that before. So for example, like I said, volunteering maybe in a food bank where you have to organize, you have to talk to people, you have to be very focused and having a plan to accomplish something. That would be an excellent example to use. So again, if you're a freshman or you're someone who's starting off in your professional career, you want to focus on what you've done on your own time, volunteering, or maybe another job where you can prove that a qualification has been shown. Paragraph 3 is going to be your summary and closure. This is going to answer, I'm qualified and I'm interested. And it's going to reestablish, this is why I'm the best for this position. You're going to want to restate your interest in the position, and you want to thank the reader for their consideration. This is a letter after all. You're not just restating what's on your resume. So an option is to include ways that the hiring manager can reach you. That means you can say something along the lines of, I look forward to discussing my qualifications further via email at so-and-so. Your closing signature, just like on the letter, is going to include a sign off and your written name. You can include your written signature and scan it if you'd like, but also typing it is just as acceptable. That is considered an electronic signature. In the Center for Academic Equity, we do have a copier that students can utilize. You can write your name on a piece of paper and scan it and email it to yourself. That way you have it handy should you want to use this in your cover letter. Some specific closures that you may want to use are sincerely, comma, best regards, comma, or thank you, comma, your name. Again, this is a letter, so you do want to make sure you sign off properly. So You would not want to use this kind of sentence. Please hire me. I need money to pay rent and eat. Hit me up. So you definitely don't want to use this because one, it's unprofessional. Two, it sounds very desperate and doesn't sound very sincere. One that you do want to use, as mentioned earlier, is maybe this. I look forward to discussing my qualifications further. You can reach me via email at so and so. The Texas Career Engagement Center does have some specific materials for preparing your resume and cover letters should you be in a specific industry. For example, let's say you are an engineer or you're someone who works in manufacturing. You're going to want to utilize the industry specific cover letter. Let's say you're in business. You're going to want to use the business cover letter. We also have a specific way to use cover letters if you want to go into academic administration. So this is if you want to work in a school or higher education. There's also specific cover letters for nonprofits. All of these materials can be seen here in the Texas Career Engagement Center website if you scroll down to the bottom. Again, you do want to tailor your cover letter to a specific job, and some industries or fields are very specific about what you should have in them. So if you are in one of these fields, please check that out here in the Texas Career Engagement Center website. All right, so hopefully you went from feeling like this to feeling like this with cover letters. Again, I know cover letters can be intimidating, but it's really just about finding an informal way to introduce yourself and reestablish how your values and your interests align to what you're applying for. So in my workshop, we did a practice where I provided a resume with a job description. And the exercise was to write a cover letter or start a cover letter. Now, the point I wanted to make in this practice was that your first draft is not going to be your final draft by any means. More often than not, people end up rewriting their cover letters for one single job 3 to 4 times, if not more. It's very usual for people to rewrite and rewrite and revise and revise. So do not be intimidated by not finding the right words. What you should try to do when you're writing your first cover letter is to just write the words on paper. Doesn't matter if it's not grammatically correct. Do not over focus on that. Again, you simply want to get the words on the paper. That way, when you revise and you're rewriting, it will be easier to flow. Another point I wanted to make was that your cover letter is gonna have to be adaptable. Again, one cover letter is not gonna be used for all jobs. It should be tailored. The last point I wanted to make is you want to be able to have reliable friends that can read your cover letter and tell you what may be off or what may be really helpful. So for example, because I was a government major and I'm in the field of policy, I may want to ask my friend who's not in that field to read my cover letter to see if it reads correctly, if it flows. A cover letter is a letter. So you want to make sure that your information is flowing, that you're being clear, that you're being concise, and that it sounds like a human being. You don't want to use words that you don't actually use in real life. So avoid trying to Google better ways to say a word or to sound smarter. Be yourself, be authentically you. And again, try to do these 3 things we talked about at the very, very beginning. Your cover letter is going to want to tailor, but it's also going to want to address these 3 things. You want to connect it to your resume. You want to tie it to a specific job, and you want to talk about why you're the best candidate. If you're a person that doesn't have much experience, you want to show your interest. You want to show how you're invested in progress. A cover letter is an informal way to introduce your values and who you are. And so when you're applying to a job or a scholarship, you definitely need to show that. So that that is the end of our cover letter presentation here. But should you have any questions, please feel free to email me This presentation should be available for anybody who sees it. I will have additional supplemental material in our newsletter. So anyway, thank you for being here and have a great day. Hook 'em.